Audiobook Club with Steve Phillips and Matthew Layton.
On this episode of Audiobook Club, writer and comedian Ben Elton's guide to dealing with hecklers.
I didn't realise that in the terrifying cut and thrust of those early gigs, I was developing a stage personality that would come to define me absolutely, and not necessarily in a good way. The personality that found fame 5 years later on Saturday Live, which was considered by many columnists and commentators to be ranting, angry, over-opinionated and aggressive. The funny thing is that in real life, I'm not any of those things. I'm passionate, but I'm not angry. I talk a lot, but I certainly don't rant. I have opinions, but I know how to listen and learn, and nobody who knows me would ever describe me as remotely aggressive. How did I manage to so comprehensively become something I'm not? It was the bloody Comedy Store. In those gong shows, you either won or you died, and if you died, you very soon stopped getting paid. So I got on that stage and I unleashed. I swore hard and loud, and if there was even the hint of heckling, I'd step out of my routine and confront it with all my might. What did it say on the poster? An evening with some of London's top comedians, or an evening with some of London's top comics, plus one fucking idiot who can't keep his mouth shut? Did anyone pay to hear what you've got to say? Were they queuing up downstairs, saying to each other, "Ooh, I do hope some random pissed up dickhead is going to wake up in the middle of someone's act and fuck up the punchline"? Is that what these people have given up their Saturday nights for? No, it fucking isn't. So have another pint of piss and shut the fuck up.
Audiobook Club with Steve Phillips and Matthew Layton.
Hello. You can tell which book we're doing this week, can't you? Hello and welcome to Audiobook Club, the podcast about audiobooks that likes a little bit of politics, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed. And as you probably gathered, this week we're casting an ear over What Have I Done? My autobiography by Ben Elton, read by Ben Elton. It came out on the 9th of October, 15 hours, 59 minutes from Macmillan. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Steve. I'm looking forward to this one. I think we both approach this in a good mood, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of grew. Ben Elton's book was not on our sort of schedule, was it really? But I just came across it. I think because he's doing the media rounds, and also because I think it got suggested actually on my Spotify as well. So and I just you and I have grown up with his comedy, his writing, stage plays, all the rest of it, and yeah, it's just so great to sort of get under the bonnet and just see what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, so I think we grew up with him, but in slightly different ways. I anticipate that we are going to find out. I think I like different things that he did than you do. And I think that'll come out in the course of it. There's an interesting thing. This book is also, so he's 67 years old now. And it's kind of headed up by a bit of grief. So his partner in crime, his spiritual muse, Rick Mail, of shouting on the television fame and Young Ones, passed away in 2013-14, 10 years ago or so.
Nuts.
And Ben Elton says that he tried to start his autobiography at that time, but he realised that he was too sad and angry to do it. But clearly he opens the book with Rick Mail, and yeah, I think it's a bit like you and me, Steve. It's one of those magic relationships where no one can explain quite how it works, but the content is brilliant and greater than the sum of the parts.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what they say about us. Who says that exactly? ChatGPT, because we asked it.
Strangely in tune with each other as one of us, the puppet master behind the scenes, writes the brilliant comedy lines for the zany presenter. That's you. For the sort of baldric character that is me. I agree. Yeah, you're absolutely right. This book, I just straight out of the gate, I love this book. I'm just on the last chapter now, actually.
when he's going through his upstart crow years, and his Ben Elton, as his wife referred to it. But yeah, should we inform our dear listener of the evergreen 3-step process?
That sounds like a plan.
And get cracking with it. Yeah, okay. So if it's your first time to Audiobook Club, first of all, welcome. It's a club. Welcome in. Come on. What are you reading? What are you reading these days? Let's do the plug right at the top of the show here. Hashtag Audiobook Club. Let us know what you're reading and why we should read it too, and share it with everyone else. We're also on Blue Sky and Instagram as well, at Audiobook Show. Just get in touch with us that way.
Hold on a second, right? I think we should not be ashamed to admit this. And the thing is, you do the Blue Sky and the Instagram, and they are positive channels, brilliantly produced by you as the man who founded BBC London's social media department in 2008. And you know what you're doing. You then, in 2011, gave me a career. But I haven't really moved on since then, and I do the Facebook and Twitter for the old people and the angry people, and you do the nice stuff.
Into my drawer again, Matt, for the self-aggrandizing screw. Come on, let's screw down that self-aggrandizing treasure chest.
I'm not self-aggrandizing. I am just bigging you up. That is all. But yeah, so you do all the nice stuff on Instagram and Blue Sky for the positive, forward-looking people, and I do the Twitter and the Facebook for old people and angry people. So you can choose to interact with either one of them. I thought this was a unique selling point during the week, Steve. They can choose. Mostly, you go, send us an email at podcast@podcast.com. But actually, pick a side. Yeah,
pick a side.
Who do you like more, me or Steve?
Despite your glorious preamble there, no one's ever spoken to us. I mean, we know that someone is listening out there, and it's not just our friends and family. But yeah, if you listen to us, just let us know.
Please, anyway, we're begging you.
It's like, for the love. Yeah, don't want to seem like we're desperate or anything, but yeah, we're desperate. So yes, our 3-step process. So we talk about the author, and then we talk about the text of the book. Is it a good book? And of course, lastly, the audiobook production and performance. What do we think of the narrator? Does the audio version bring any extra to the party over and above the traditional printed version? So, Ben Elton, what you got, Matt?
Well, look, the 3-step process, this is kind of, I hope we're practicing what we preach here, because we always start with the author. And above anything else, I think Ben Elton certainly declares himself in this book that he is a writer before anything else, even though we know him, perhaps his on-screen presence was more sort of a shouty stand-up comedian. But Benjamin Charles Elton was born in May 1959. He's a British comedian and writer. He has written and produced for television, radio, films, movies, theatre and musicals, and has performed as a stand-up comedian on stage and on screen. One of the major figures in the alternative comedy movement of the 1980s. I hope we come back to that, Steve. He used a style of left-wing political satire in his early stand-up comedy. He co-wrote the TV sitcoms, and this is the bit where I'm guessing that you will be more of a fan than me, The Young Ones, Blackadder and Mr. Bean, and was the sole writer for other sitcoms such as Filthy Rich and Catflap, The Thin Blue Line and Upstart Crow. As of 2025, he has published 16 novels, and I've read about 2 or 3 of those, and I've enjoyed the ones that I have read. So yeah, and you don't, because of course he's famous for a little bit in the 1980s and 90s where he was a comedian on television, but 16 novels is quite a substantial body of work, really, isn't it?
Well, it's incredible. I mean, it's such an incredible body of work, and he's done. I mean, he's 67, and you say only 67. This is the sort of stuff you'd be 107, and be able to squeeze all that in. Not quite sure I'm going that metaphor, really. Haven't sort of thought about it. Which books have you read, by the way?
I'm really upset that you asked me that, because I'd forgotten. One of them was, I can't quite remember the name. There was the time travelling one. I loved that one very much. I like a bit of time travel. He wrote a time travelling one, and it had a proper name, like In Time or something like that. Proper pun.
Yeah.
And
Mike's Time.
I've also read the one where he he had sort of a young pop star. I think it was called High Society, in fact. It was about drugs and how useless. The purpose behind the book was to say, you know, the war on drugs is not really helping anybody. Maybe there is another way of looking at the legal status of controlled substances. I think that's and that had a pop star type of person in it. But in all cases, he does the thing. There is a positive message behind what he's doing, and actually the conceits, the stories are and the devices are quite accessible and really easy to get. I don't know what you think, Steve. Have you read any of his books?
I've not, but I think I will now. I've read his autobiography. Because he was always in the background. He was always on the shelves, you know, just like, oh, wow, when I was a kid. So, oh, wow, Ben Elton's written a book. And I think it was it Popcorn or Stark?
Yeah, both of those. Yeah, familiar with both.
So I love his writing, but of course, you know, Blackadder was where I sort of really hopped on board. Mr. Bean, not so much, to be fair. I just found, I think Mr. Bean came out pretty much straight after or shortly after Blackadder Goes Forth. And if you've seen Blackadder Goes Forth and the writing, or all the Blackadder series, I guess bar the first one, it's so amazing, just so moving. And the wit of Edmund Blackadder, Rowan Atkinson, and then he turns up, just prating about, I don't know. It was very, very clever in terms of the physical humor, and I do get it now. Now I'm older, but I thought, my God, this is embarrassing. Don't show this. This is the thing that made him famous around the world. And why isn't Blackadder the thing that made Rowan Atkinson famous around the world? But interesting enough, Ben Elton does sort of allude to that. He actually, I think he was involved in the first episode of Mr. Bean, but not after that. He says in the book actually that it wasn't quite his cup of tea, if I recall properly what he was saying in the book. Sort of paraphrasing him, really. Yeah. But yes, certainly Blackadder. Then I came to the young ones when I was much older. I've not seen Filthy Rich. And The Thin Blue Line, I've not really got into. He does talk about his sitcom, fallow period, if you like, where, you know, he wrote this sitcom which was supposed to be for Rick Mail, The Right Way. Yeah. About a guy who runs a local town council, but it ended up going to David Haig, and Rick didn't do it because he wasn't successful. They didn't want Rick in it. It wasn't, you know, because he died. It was because they didn't want him in it, and then of course Upstart Crow later on. Right. Okay, that's his sitcom.
I'll tell you what we should do. We should circle back to this, because obviously we've got this thing again where I think this is it our third autobiography in a row where when you describe the book, you give yourself you end up talking about the author inevitably and a bit more structure from their life. I want to come back to you on particularly Blackadder and the young ones. But if you do the wonderful bit, the only bit that people in Norway tune in for this podcast, the bit where you achieve spiritual oneness with words you've never seen that a Nepalese monk would envy. This is the bit where you read the blurb on the back of the book.
Yeah,
it's sublime, mate. It's the only reason I turn up.
Never has such a mundane feature been so announced. Ben Elton, you're going to regret asking me this.
Teeth in.
Ben Elton. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know. Ben Elton has done everything and worked with everybody. Now, in this frank, forthright and hugely entertaining book, he tells the whole story. Discover the truth behind iconic hits like The Young Ones, Blackadder and We Will Rock You. Relive the pioneering stand-up of Saturday Live that birthed a comedy revolution. From being the BBC's youngest ever sitcom writer to his most recent critically acclaimed stand-up tour, Ben reveals unique insights into his groundbreaking work. He talks honestly about his relationships with brilliant friends, inspiring contemporaries and occasional foes.
Nice. So, as mentioned, this is mainly in chronological order, but he does open the book with the story that you mentioned of between 2012 and 2014, where he felt he was so close to Rick Mail. They'd known each other since Ben Elton was 18 and Rick Mail was 20. He thought he was one of only two people in the universe who was able to write properly for Rick Mail, but he felt that at some point that he felt that he hadn't fulfilled the full potential of that writer comedian balance of the guy behind the scenes and the on-screen talent. He never felt he actually, even in the Young Ones and Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, he felt he'd never quite achieved the amazing things that they could achieve, and he felt that the Right Way sitcom was going to be the bit where they would get closer to that. And then when Rick Mail, who was apparently too large for the part, but as you say, he died about the same time, but it wasn't his death that stopped him starring in the sitcom. It was the fact that the people at the BBC thought he was too much, basically. I think that's the way you'd put it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Rick Mail was just a legend. He really was. He was just so authentic, so real, and not a shrinking violet. Very, very clever man. Just such a exceptional sense of timing and anarchy. The range of characters Rick Mail played, from obviously Rick in the Young Ones to Alan Bastard. He was amazing just before he went in Man Down with Greg Davis, playing Greg Davis's dad, and because a lot of people talk about how much they resemble each other. And he was absolutely fantastic in Man Down. If you've not seen that before, it's on. I think it's streaming on Channel 4. So yeah, just incredible. One of my comedy heroes, definitely Rick Mail. Absolutely. And,
of course. And I have to say, it surprised me though that so much of this book is rooted in the relationship between the two of them, because I come to Ben Elton more for the stand-up side of things, and the idea that the relationship he had with Rick Mail was perhaps the most fulfilling relationship that he had professionally in his life, but with some stuff left undone. And the fact that Rick Mail was an arrogant alcoholic nightmare at times as well. And he said there's bits where he goes, and sometimes I didn't pick up the phone to Rick, and I regret those times immensely. And the fact that the whole of the book is in chronological order, apart from this bit, which is clearly the most important thing to him, is very. But what I love in these autobiographies is the bit where we get to find out, that little bit of modern history that we may or may not have lived through. And it's interesting. I could relate to Ben Elton's antecedents. And his parents, his grandparents, and it was so he's halfway between me and my dad in terms of his age. So he was born in 1959, and in a way that I understand, he's half Jewish on his father's side. Although he has a definite opinion on that relationship, which is it a religion? Is it a race? If it's a race, then how can you join it and convert to Judaism? And if it's a religion, I don't really like religion. But his uncle was actually called Gottfried Ehrenberg, and was ordered while serving in the army to change his name to something more British, because if you got caught and were Jewish, had a German accent and a name like Ehrenberg, you didn't have a great future in the war. So that's where the Elton surname comes from. Jeffrey Elton, I think it's his uncle, but basically they all changed their names. Same thing happened in my family as well. So my grandfather Harry came over from Europe to avoid pogroms and Nazis, and their surname is Eisenstotz.
Yeah.
And yeah, my surname's a made up. Well, it's not a made up surname.
Really?
At the time, the story goes, and I think this is accurate, that Grandpa Harry, who I never met, stuck a pin in the quite thin phone book at the time. And the pin, considering that he was trying to find a less Jewish name, my family's luck, his pin landed in Lazarus. So my surname is the one above Lazarus in the phone book. That's where my surname comes from. Yeah. L-A-Y-T-O-N.
One above Lazarus.
Oh, will you stop being... Sorry.
Nickname,
I'm
mate.
sorry about this. This is I think... it's Saturday evening here in Adelaide. I'm home alone with the kids.
Oh, man.
And I think the takeaway has just arrived.
Yeah.
So apologies for the noise there.
Should we hit a live pause and come back?
No, they can deal with it themselves. They're 14 years old now. They don't need mollycoddling. In World War
I
One,
love the symmetry, by the way, that you're in Australia, I'm in the UK right now, and Ben Elton lives that life as well. That's nice.
He does, and yeah, I don't know how he bloody does it. It's exhausting. World War One, his grandfathers fought on different sides. World War Two, his uncles fought on different sides. There's a lovely story in this book of when his grandmother finds his grandfather's iron cross and thinks this probably isn't a good thing to keep and buries it in the garden. So his we're familiar with that sort of First World War, Second World War history of Europe, and it's amazing how close it is here to somebody who, looks like us and sounds like us, Steve, I guess. We then go on.
It made me think, actually. It made me think that this whole grandfathers fighting on different sides, there must have been occasions where they came up against each other.
Quite big theatres of war there, I would have thought. Happened?
Well, the big theatres, not these two particular grandfathers, but somewhere, because of the sheer numbers involved, maybe at some point, a couple of grandfathers from a family, were locked in combat, or maybe they sort of kept it on the quiet, just saying, "I won't shoot you if you don't shoot me, and we'll just sort of play dead or something." I don't know.
Or maybe, there were children who weren't born because they shot each other, and they were never grandfathers anyway.
Well. Exactly. Yeah. I think terrible thing. Anyway,
I think I've still got a bit of jet lag. Then, just quickly to get through he doesn't remember too much about his childhood, so he assumes it was quite happy. He left home at the age of 16 to go to Stratford upon Avon to study drama and live in a caravan. He, of course, had an unrequited love for a teenage depressive called Ali, who I want to come back to at some point, because I think he talks about how his when he was an alternative comedian, he already had his feminism radar turned on. But I wonder if she was the source of that. It's not mentioned in the book. He then goes to Manchester University, where he meets Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson, and then at the age of 21. He gets a phone call from Rick Mayall, who says, "We've got a meeting with the BBC. Come and write the script for me." And that was for The Young Ones. Steve, you are a resident comedy expert. I'm aware of The Young Ones, but and I'm aware of the characters in it, but I never saw it at the time. I think because I was too young. Yep. I would have been 7 or 8. What is it, and do you like it?
Okay, so The Young Ones its premise is basically a student life. So it's for anarchic anarchic students living in a house, in a wacky house, and each character is extraordinarily individual. You had Nigel Planer as the hippie Neil, who was sort of like, who ended up sort of doing all the domestic chores and things and just saying how heavy everything was. You had Rick Mayall as kind of this sort of this sort of politically vocal driven kind of activist against Mrs. Thatcher and everything she was doing at the time, and a poet and all the rest of it. And then you had Vivian, played by Adrian Edmondson, who was just the most anarchic, shouty, violent sort of character. Just amazing. And they were led by I think it was Mike. Yeah, his name was Mike, the lead character, played by Christopher Ryan, who sort of led the gang. He's obviously, he's very distinguished. They're all amazing actors, and this is where they started out. The young ones, culturally, by the way, was absolutely a game changer for the kids in the playground, and in what was much more of a monoculture then compared to what it is now. But it changed the conversation. And these kids who grew up with the young ones, it was heavily influential in their lives. It was amazing.
There's an interesting bit in here where Ben Elton, while congratulating himself on having changed language and culture in playgrounds across the UK, refers to a speech that Prime Minister Boris Johnson gave in the House of Commons not too long ago, where he referred to somebody else as a girly swat, which is the type of language that comes directly from the young ones. You said you didn't get to it till after Blackadder.
No, and I don't know if it was a natural rebellion within me, but I never really sort of followed the trends that were going on in the school playground. I guess I was kind of the dweeb in the corner sort of thing, and I was much more sort of...
But hold on, how old were you in 1982? You're a bit younger than me.
I was 6. So yeah, so maybe a bit too.
Okay, well, yeah, and I was 8.
A bit too young for it.
I mean, people around me knew what it was, and over here in Australia, when discussing it with people this week, because they all got our television 2 years later than us. Other dads of kids who are friends of my kids. Sitting around and going, oh yeah, I remember that very well, and we spoke about it. But I think you and I in the United Kingdom were 2 years too young. It's interesting that people of my age over here are more familiar with it, than you and I are. I
came to it in my teens, I think, when the videos got released for the first time.
I'm going to skip through the bits where it goes. So the young ones, I think there was a night where he went to that meeting at the BBC. And then he did his first bit of stand-up comedy because he didn't have any money on the same night, and nobody was reading his lines on the same night. So the bit where I know him is actually, I remember Saturday Live, which hit in about 1985 when I was 11 or 12 years old. And that's where Ben Elton, and for me, more importantly, Harry Enfield. It was Channel 4, which was the new public service / commercial hybrid broadcaster in the UK, had an anarchic youth television programme called Saturday Live, music, comedians, and the two regulars were Ben Elton in a shiny suit and a red tie, doing jokes about Mrs. Thatch, like that. And again, Harry Enfield, who I hope we get to come back to. I've got tickets to see him next year at the Richmond Theatre. It's my birthday treat to myself next year. So
lovely. I'm still waiting for them to release in Canterbury, and they're still not out yet.
Oh really? Oh yeah, of course. Miles away.
Hovering.
So again, he had this dual parallel career where I'm watching him as a stand-up, and you are devouring and learning off by heart Blackadder, I guess, which was the 5-series historic comedy. Is that right?
4 series and a bunch of specials. So basically, and it wasn't actually. So the very first comedy I ever remember watching was in 1983. So I was 7, and it was The Blackadder when it was first broadcast. And I'm grateful to my parents about this. They were very liberal about the telly we watched, because at 7 years old you shouldn't be watching something that's on at 9:30 at night, sort of thing. But we watched I loved The Blackadder. As a 7-year-old, as a kid, I think that was probably more for me than the later series. But as I grew up, you realise that when you and it was good to listen to Ben Elton's side. There are lots of stories about why and how they changed from the first series to the second series, because it's a seismic, it's basically a blank slate, because it wasn't universally successful, the first series, and over budget as well. It was very cinematic. And then the subsequent series were basically back to a three set studio and, live studio audience and very sort of, traditional kind of sitcom, much cheaper, but actually much tighter for it. The writing just absolutely crackled. So when Blackadder 2 came out, 85, 9 years old, loved it. But I can't watch. This is one thing for me. I just wanted to, yeah.
Hold on, let me get this straight. Hold on, just quickly. So the Blackadder was the first one.
Yes.
I didn't really understand that. The second, third, and fourth one. So the second one was set in the... So
just to give you an idea, the first series was written by Rowan Atkinson and Richard Curtis, and it was set in the sort of medieval times, sort of 1480s, around there. The Blackadder 2 was Queen Elizabeth, so Elizabethan period. Blackadder 3, Regency. Blackadder goes forth, World War One.
Yeah.
To give you the research. I can't watch. This is one of the things I cannot do. This is very much a personal thing for me. And I'm happily sit in front of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Saw 3 or whatever. But I still can't watch the last episode of the first series of the Blackadder when your hero gets horribly murdered. And it's really gruesome. And I still can't watch it. And I'm, much older now.
I don't really remember watching it, but what I do remember is on the fourth series, which was called Blackadder Goes Forth, which was set in the trenches of the First World War. It's very funny all the way through, and then suddenly at the end, I just remember being punched in the face as I watched it live, as the characters who had been jovial for that series and actors we were familiar with over 4 series went over the top, and everything went to black and white, and they were clearly dead, and it was very harrowing. And it's amazing how what was ostensibly a comedy program managed to. Yeah, again, as soon as you say Blackadder, that's the bit I remember. I remember just being confronted by the amazing sense of grief that last episode left me with as a 15-year-old. So,
we're quite lucky, actually, that we've got lots of accounts of the making of Blackadder from, there's been TV documentaries, there's interviews with the one person's perspective I hadn't actually got was Ben Elton's perspective of Blackadder and the writing of Blackadder. So it's good to get that here. Just quickly, that very last scene in Blackadder Goes Forth, and this was an interview with John Lloyd, the producer, was that they were on an extraordinarily low budget. It was a very basic TV set to produce that last scene when they go over the top. And actually, they thought they completely screwed it up because they basically they didn't have, it was a very small space. So they didn't literally popped out from the trenches and only had a few feet before freezing and falling over. And it was only because in post-production, they said, they thought they'd screwed they didn't have another chance to do this take at all. That was it. And that's when they said, well, if we slow the footage down, and slow the sound down as well. That's what creates the haunting thing. And then Howard Goodall bringing up the piano version of the theme music, slow, kind of melancholic version. That's what made it so powerful. So, the way it was shot, and I think they show raw footage of them shooting that scene, in one of the documentaries. I think it was on Gold. You can see the fix that they were in. So it's a real achievement there. But good to get Ben Elton sort of his views on how Blackadder was written.
Well, I think his take on it is that he was honoured to be invited in for the reboot of season 2, and at that moment of television, I saw him interviewed the other day, and he basically says in the book and as he's doing the rounds at the moment, he's basically saying, I got really lucky, and it takes a village, and I played a small part. I wrote the script, which is normally, as you and I know, the spine of everything. But actually, it was the costume and the special effects and all of that made that an historic piece of television that even I remember 36 years later.
Yeah.
So
incredible,
impressive
incredible. Stuff. It's so funny. We're about 35 minutes in. We're only up to Blackadder.
Yeah. Well, look, there is so much. It's a 16-hour book, and there is a lot in here. I'm just going to briefly go through his family situation. As you said, when he was 27 years old, he saw an Australian band play, and I think he was 25, and the 18-year-old violinist, I think, one of the members of the band he fell in love with, and they've been married ever since. They have 3 children, and he splits his time between London and Fremantle in Western Australia, and we all lived happily ever after. This hasn't been very funny so far, has it?
No.
And it's always the problem when you're talking about comedy. When you're talking about comedy rather than people doing it, that you lose sight. I think we should go on to the audiobook now. I've got loads more I want to say. Maybe we'll need to do an audio book club extra.
Yeah, some extra. Yeah.
Maybe we'll put
Patreon. Check out our Patreon, which we've not set up and haven't done.
No, it's next to the merch. So clip 3, as we head into the what does the audiobook bring to the party? I'd love to hear your take on that in general, but also as a left-wing comedian in the 1980s, which is what I know him for the best. He often got accused of being a hypocrite because he has an accent that perhaps doesn't conflate with his grammar school education and the fact that he's the son of a professor. This is him talking about that. So the bit where we're talking about how he reads the audiobook is the bit where he talks about how he speaks.
Stillness School and Catford are where I got my accent. Obviously, where else would I get it? But the idea that I put on a common voice to disguise a presumed poshness has been a recurring troll across my entire career. I think grumpy old Paul Merton was the first to do an actual routine on it in the mid-80s. He pointed out that my dad was born in Germany and was also a professor, so clearly my true voice must be that of a posh Middle European intellectual. The idea still comes up occasionally as evidence of my presumed inauthenticity. Well, excuse me, but come the fuck on. I mean, really, come the fuck on and then fuck the fuck off. It would be a pretty pathetic jibe even if there was any truth in it. I mean, what performer doesn't affect a stage personality? But people get their accents from their school and their neighbourhood. Nobody ever said Brummie-born Lenny Henry was a hypocrite for not speaking like his West Indian parents, because if they did, they'd sound like an idiot and a racist. My accent is the same as my brothers and sisters, the accent of where I was brought up and where I went to school. So, Catford, South East London. So,
Steve, I'm going to ask you because obviously I can't speak of such things because I'm a bleeding toff, ain't I? But start by going. What do you think about what he's saying there, and your opinion of the way he speaks and his voice, and then dovetail that beautifully and elegantly into what you thought of the performance of the book overall.
My first thought was he's not been on Have I Got News for You, to my recollection. After he's listed that Paul Merton story, that maybe we found the reason why. I saw that being recorded this week, by the way. Very, very good.
Oh yeah, you invited me and then realised you didn't have a ticket in the end, but it's okay because I'm in Australia.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's
I know
right.
exactly. So a happy but if socially awkward episode in our relationship there. But very interesting how it's done. But the in terms of accents, I'm pretty agnostic about the whole kind of course, if you're born in Catford and you're raised in Catford, you will have a London accent, and it takes a long while to shake that off. I was born in Essex, I say Essex, but it's sort of Hainault, which was sort of basically London, sort of Zone 6 kind of thing. Not the most exclusive end of the Central Line, if you know what I mean. And And I probably still got that accent with me now, but not quite as pronounced as maybe some of our friends from The Only Way is Essex, possibly. So,
but
I
I give you permission, even though, in theory, you and I grew up 10 miles away from each other, because of the way Britain works, it's all very complicated. But I give you permission to rule it on whether Mr. Elton's accent is authentic or not authentic.
Completely, of course, it's authentic. I mean, but the only thing I'd say is his accent had never occurred to me, and the way he tells jokes, and class never came into it, and this whole stick about. And it's not just with him. If anyone's got a different accent to the way the newspaper editors and other peers of his or anyone else who sort of gets targeted with this stuff, changing your accent does not necessarily mask that you're something else. And actually, when you get home and the front door closes, you suddenly launch. You talk like Bertie Wooster. It's not true. I just don't hold any water with that at all. Ben Elton, it's just been Ben Elton. He's just very, very funny. And he's got, he's just extraordinarily funny. And I love he as a stand-up, pretty much peerless. You put him up there with Billy Connolly. And because he does not drop a bit. I saw his, well, not this latest stand-up tour, but the one before last, probably about 4 years ago. And he'd not dropped a beat. And he hadn't done it for 15 years. But so I find him, and it's really good actually to hear his side of the story in terms of, when he started doing We Will Rock You and working with Andrew Lloyd Webber and all this sort of stuff. All these views came out about him, being a champagne socialist and all the rest of it. If you're successful, you're going to get famous, and it comes with trappings. And you start, yes, of course, it might have got a little bit sort of tiresome, I guess, when you sort of hear the sort of the 74th name drop and everything. But on the other hand, that's kind of what happens when you're successful. Are we just jealous in it? Is this in America? People aren't like that, are they? Over here, if you're successful, people are resentful. Sometimes it seems, much like you and I on most episodes.
So if we resentful. Look, if we put it into the context that he does in the book and extrapolate a bit, basically, he was in the 1980s a so-called alternative comedian, though none of the so-called alternative comedians referred to themselves as such with a straight face. They never said, "I am an alternative comedian." No. What they were the alternative to, and quite consciously, was the tradition of 1960s, 1970s joke-telling comedians who perhaps, in the view of Ben Elton, relied too much on racism and sexism. Bernard Manning, for example, who he said he went and saw, and the bloke was technically brilliant, but the subject of his jokes was a bit negative. And Ben Elton,
it's lazy. These are lazy subjects. That's the thing. You listen to those comedians who talk about doing the working man's clubs and all the rest of it. Those sort of the Bernard Mannings. I mean there are a lot of amazing comedians who came out of the working man's clubs. And I don't need to dump everyone in generally.
Roy Chubby Brown, Jethro,
And Roy Chubby Brown was really actually a very, very good, technically brilliant comedian. He was in the league, ended up in the League of Gentlemen. He's actually a technically brilliant comedian. But the problem was the subject matter is just so lazy. It's so lazy just to go straight into that and to play onto people's prejudices. It's a lazy subject area. And this is why people like Ben Elton and his ilk, Alexis Sale, all the rest of them, I certainly gravitated more towards them pretty easily.
But the only reason we know that is wrong is because people like Ben Elton stood up and said it was wrong. He says...
I don't know about that.
He says not only was he against sexism, but that sexism was part of the topic that he addressed. So, and he very much built his career on being opposed to the Bernard Manning way of doing things. And look, I'm complimenting. I don't think you and I would naturally have those instincts of going racism bad, sexism bad. I think Ben Elton himself contributed to that awareness. It was a new thought at the time when you and I were 10 to 15 years old. I think I remember, my dad learning to, he was known as a joke teller, and he learnt to modify the subject matter of his jokes because he, when he was telling them, when it hadn't been pointed out to him, he didn't necessarily, think that there was anything wrong with it. But as soon as he realised, his routine became a lot cleaner. But
I think you're right. But I will say I don't think we needed Ben Elton to tell us that. He didn't tell us that this was wrong. What he did do, because you watch Bernard Manning, you just think this feels wrong. I don't like this comedy. I don't like it. It's just awful. And but what was great was when people like Ben Elton came along and Alexei Sayle and all the rest of them, it was such a relief that there were people out there who were amplifying that and giving the alternative view, which was much better.
Okay, agree to disagree, because again, going back.
No, I think we're furiously agreeing with each other here. It's all good. No, I'm loving this.
No, I think we're very lucky that people like Ben Elton made that stand. The way we got to this was talking about whether his accent is authentic or not.
Yes.
And there is, but there's a thing that Paul Merton was, I don't know, what would we call it? Like class baiting him, I guess, or trying to get one over him. There's a lot of this where he says, Ben Elton says that the 1980s, just to me, at times felt like one incredibly long benefit gig, because he was on the left wing of politics. Whenever it was Save the Whales or Amnesty International and they wanted to do a comedy gig, he would go along. But as he points out, the left wing like nothing better than fighting each other.
Yeah.
So he does a joke which is a bit like the Monty Python one. He was doing the socialist worker versus the Morning Star, and how they all fight with each other. So and finally he made it sound exactly like the People's Front of Judea and the Judean People's Front.
Yes, I mean, I think you're right. The Alexei Sayle, I mean, they had the 20-year feud. I never knew about that. Ben Elton and Alexei Sayle.
Never knew about that.
But Alexei Sayle apologised to him after that.
Can I pick up on that? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
No. Let's talk about the 20 years. Let's talk about how vehement Ben Elton was about how nasty Alexei Sayle was to him and how hurt he was. And point out the bit where he goes, I'm not angry with other people. I don't think it's nice to pick out single people and vilify them. And then he goes, about 3 paragraphs later, once he's got that out, he goes, now that Edwina Curry.
It's very funny.
There is a bit where I saw him being interviewed, probably the same place you saw him being interviewed yesterday. And there was a bit where he goes, oh yeah, and people call me a hypocrite. But there's a bit where he goes, I'm not angry. But then there are bits where you just hear him being or aggressive, and then you just hear him being angry and aggressive. In even when he's writing about himself and his own feelings, it's like, yeah, we're all a bit angry and aggressive, Ben.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's all cool. It's all cool.
Yeah, no, it's all fine. But again, yeah, don't. I think maybe I've done a lot of therapy. I remember when my therapist, Anthony, said to me, he said, you think you're a nice person, don't you? You think you're kind to other people? I went, yeah, I do. I try to be. He goes, yeah, but what about the rage? You're an angry person. And let's talk about your anger. So I guess I'm conscious of that. And yeah, I can admit that I get angry. It's interesting that he goes, I'm never aggressive or angry, and then just launches into Margaret Thatcher and talks about bobbing turds.
It does make me feel it makes me feel very sad, actually, that Paul Merton says that about, because Paul Merton's he's just incredible. He's an amazing comedian, and it saddened me that Alexei Sayle had that feud with Ben Elton as well, because they're all amazing, and but these things happen. Sometimes this stuff happens. We're all humans, aren't we? And humans clash sometimes, don't they?
But also, they're comedians. They've got to have shtick. The way you publicise yourself is by having a go at somebody else. It's like hip hop beef.
I'm having that tomorrow, actually.
I had a lovely excuse this weekend, having just heard this. My friend Jane, for the first time in her life, bought herself a new car, and it arrived yesterday. So you can imagine what I sent her on YouTube.
What crash bang wallop? What a video!
Hello, John, got a new motor.
Don't know.
Hello, John, got a new motor.
Oh, brilliant! Lovely.
Do you know what? I like
That's
Alexi
awesome.
Sale. Again, it was that thing that happened in the 80s, whether it be Smith and Jones, the young ones, or Alexi Sale. Do you remember those glossy comedy books that were suitable for teenagers? They were A4 size, and they were quite well illustrated. Did you never have any? They were like an annual.
I had.
All the comedians did one. One of them is that they mentioned the young ones one in here, but yeah.
I mean, I used to have annuals like the Doctor Who annual, but I also had the Not the 9 O'Clock News magazine as well. That was a really
and I got the Smith and Jones one after that as well, and I used to love those. Again, I used to spend ages with those. So those were quite. But Alexi Sale, again, I've enjoyed his short stories as well and his biography. I'd like to. If he brings out something new, I think we should pounce on it.
Definitely.
When he brings something out, 'cause he's a great writer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He started doing stand up again.
Good. I would actually like to go and see that.
I'll let you know. Look it up.
I'd like to go and see that. All right. Should we do a conclusion?
Yes, let's do a conclusion. So let's race through this. We had a lot. We have barely covered, about a quarter of the content of the book, but obviously musicals and books and everything. But just very quickly,
I think the most important bits, though, I think, and they have come out here for both of us, and in terms of da culture and why we're interested in Ben Elton being who we are and the age we are the young ones, his stand-up comedy career, and Blackadder. Those are the culturally significant moments, aren't there? So, but it's amazing how much he's done. As I say, those are the bits that really stand out and really remember, and why I'm here, even though I haven't seen the young ones and wasn't a fan massively of Blackadder, but he's so culturally significant with just those three things. But then also he's written 16 novels, 2 of which I've enjoyed. And this book, which I have enjoyed incredibly. And I'm very glad that he read it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Performance, we're saying, of course.
Couldn't have been anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for taking the time, Mr. Elton. I'm sure you have better ways of making money that are more efficient than reading a 16-hour audiobook. And on behalf of us all, thank you very much.
Thank you for reading your book. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, it was a
Don't take these things for granted. He's a very important man.
16 hours, that. 16 hours. So that was What Have I Done? My autobiography by Ben Elton, read by Ben Elton, came out 9th of October, 15 hours and 59 minutes out of Macmillan. Next week, we have another autobiography. We got a few. We've got a list here.
Yeah,
we got a list here.
How many autobiographies have we done in a row now?
2. This one and last week's one.
Okay.
And Bob Mortimer the week before that.
We normally try to do fiction, non-fiction, don't we? I mean, we don't.
We do.
We don't stick to it. Like, we don't adhere to it in too much of a religious way, but. Sometimes we get 2 factual books in a row. I'm not sure I want to do 3 biographies in a row. I'm also getting a hankering to exercise my hobbyist Dirk Maggs tendencies and do one of those big intros where we take the action bit from an audiobook and I put the sound effects on it. I'm getting the itch because all I've done recently is just put bits of music underneath people talking illegally. Now I want to go full.
Oh God, don't say that. Oh,
full production. I want to go.
Exit Strategy by Jack Reacher, the latest Jack Reacher is book 30. Book 30, everybody, of the Jack Reacher series by Lee Child and Andrew Child. What's the writing ratio we up to now with Lee and Andrew Child? would you say?
I don't know, but hold on. Again, I don't know, and I'm dreading that specific one slightly. You've put down here Last Rites by Ozzy Osbourne, narrated by Ian Danter, which is from Little Brown Audio. I tell you what, and then you've got the Kathy Burke one you've stuck in here as well.
Yeah, we've got to do Kathy Burke. That's going to be a brilliant book. That so we can do it whenever. I haven't sort of thought, but I've just put it on the list. So we get around to do this. Is Kathy Burke, A Mind of My Own, 9 hours 30 from Simon and Schuster, released on the 23rd of October, and we will do it in one of our weeks before Christmas. How's that? I'll make a deal with you. We can do Last Rites by Ozzy Osbourne next week. If we can then do something gripping and fiction that allows me to play with the toys afterwards. Let's do. I've got 24 hours on a plane coming up, so I'll have a listen to the Jack Reacher. I'm not convinced that it's going to be any good. I think that series time has passed. Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
And that's you saying that. You're a major fan.
That's me saying that. I'm a major fan. Look, don't feel sorry for me.
You get the newsletters every month and the conventions and everything, and the fluffy bugs.
I travel the world with just a toothbrush and a credit card.
A toothbrush and a reacher.
And I've been wearing nice. And I've been wearing the same clothes.
Which one is the implement, ladies and gentlemen?
Good.
He's got a toothbrush and a reacher.
But yeah. So yeah. I will let us do that if it turns out it's good.
Okay, so we'll do Jack Reacher next week if it's any good. If not, Last Rites.
No, we'll do Ozzy Osbourne next week, and then the week after we'll do Jack Reacher if it's any good. If not, I'll find something else exciting for us to do that is fictional and not based whatsoever at all in reality.
Sounds great. Yep, sounds a plan to me, mate. Well, now we'll keep next week's episode. It's going to be a happy occasion because it was very sad that Ozzy left us this year. But Last Rites, and I'm really looking forward to this because I just love hearing Ozzy stories. They're just funny the way he delivers them. So this is Last Rites, of course, Ozzy Osbourne's last book, and rated by Ian Danter, 10 hours 15 minutes out of I've got the publisher at the minute, but it came out on the 7th of
it's Little Brown Audio.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yeah, it's on a different page. So it came out on the 7th of October, and that's next week's book. We're going to get some Ozzy next week, and if you saw the documentary recently, or a couple of documentaries on him, and you're a big Ozzy fan, obviously much missed, but let's hear some more stories, shall we, about his life and times. So that's next week's Audio Book Club. And if you have a book you'd like us to listen to, then the hashtag is Audio Book Club. Get in touch with us on Blue Sky and Instagram. I promise I will update both of those. Surely it have gone a little bit fallow recently. And but yeah, that's the way to get in touch with us. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Anything I haven't mentioned? Oh, subscribe. Yeah, the subscription. And also find us on all your podcast platforms as well. Give us a like and subscribe, and say hello. Until next time, should we say ta-ta?
No, I can't do that.
Okay, till next week.
Audio Book Club with Steve Phillips and Matthew Layton.